perception. It's a fancy, funny one it is. So how can we have quality perception? Can we trust it? And how do we improve it? Yeah. So, perception, obviously, the way we look at the world, and what's involved in that. Well, first of all, the cornea of the eye, that layer across the lens, is the most sensitive part of the body. So quite often, unless a person is, mentally and spiritually developed, that there's a little bit of resistance on, hang on, your perception's not working because the way you look at the world is very sensitive when someone tells you that. So yeah, delivering it with love and a bit of acceptance is very helpful. Always working on that. So, of course, naturally we have our 7 chakras or endocrine glands, which are the ones that are filters for our mind. So as we know, the way the brain function works is the emotional centers in the reptilian brain is responsible for 10% of brain function. And of course, we're talking subconscious brain function because the whole brain stem is essentially the spine and the nervous systems. And so we need to get all of these things functioning well to get to the higher centers, and then we can actually trust ourselves in our perception, and then of course we get messages from other realms. If the person has raised their kundalini and awakened the neofrontal cortex in the front part of the brain, which is 90%. Einstein tells us this, so does Tesla, all the greats. Because they've earned it, they understand and they can perceive and adjust because they've been through those levels and they understand it. So, one of my things, if what I call a sheeple or a muggle, a normal person with lack of awareness, is trying to get, they're too big for their boots and they're trying to prove themselves as a reflection of me. And of course, if they're trying to, force their version of the world or their territory onto me, and I just don't want to deal with them, I can say to them, your brain function is 10%, filtered by 7 emotional centers. 10 divided by 7 is what? 1.4 something. And if they're not even aware they have emotions, well then they haven't fixed them up. So what, you're at 2%, roundabout? At best 10% brain function. So therefore at best 10%, most likely to be 2, version of looking at the world and what they can actually perceive, because as we know, everything's working on a vibration. So if anybody who's like a guru, a spiritual teacher, anybody who's preaching or projecting certain things, if they haven't raised the higher centers, they're still preaching and projecting from their own perception because they haven't got out of it yet. It's tricky, but once you've reached that level, you can understand, you can see exactly where that person's coming from. It's quite wonderful. So then you can make your decision based on not what they're saying, is what their body is saying, because their body is the subconscious mind, and what they're projecting is what they're actually needing for themselves, because they're unable to get out of their own head to be able to really assist you and get into your deepest problems, issues and stuff we need to fix. So, and I'll look at it from another way. That's the way that light works. It comes through the body. We call it Samkhya theory in Ayurveda. There are many different other ways to do it. It's essentially, the simple way is the light comes in through your subconscious body, wherever that particular chakra is. So most people it's through the thyroid. They haven't got brain function awakened yet. Then goes through the filters, goes through down to Mother Nature, which is at your feet, and then reflects back up to your perception for you to make assessments and judgments and whatever is going on through those filters. It's tricky, right? So that's the thing is, if you can, when you get your body and your spinal alignment and your energies and your chakras aligned for the higher centers, we can now start to see and feel, more importantly, we can feel it coming in. Oh, hang on, this is going to happen. Alright, and then you feel it, and then it comes through the body. So if you've placed yourself in alignment with that, you know what's going to happen coming up. And then it comes back from Mother Nature, reflected using the light. See, everything is light reflected. It's just the only way we can see it. And from that central core position, once you've aligned your body and your energies, you can see it coming in, you can see it coming out. The cause and the effect. Whereas most people still in their perception are acting on the effect of every issue or everything they can actually perceive. And then they wonder why they're off and they're not gaining extra spiritual development and progressing, because they can't see the cause. And that's a six-dimensional causal body awareness. There's very few people who have achieved that, and that's why we are guided by amazing spiritual teachers, and the ones who have the biggest perception are the ones we tend to follow because they have reached higher realms and higher levels of awareness, and that is naturally attractive to us because there's a polarity between their awareness and ours, and we want to get there. And by following these people who have true spiritual development, in other words, they have a physique that is capable of it, then we're naturally drawn to that because it's very attractive. The idea and concept of Vitruvian man, like if you see a man who is solidly built with a good strong spinal alignment, and he's cleansed and improved his body, then it's naturally attractive. Same with a woman. It's like, oh, hang on, there's something about them. They've got a few things sorted. I might talk to them and listen and maybe take on a few lessons because they're doing things well for themselves. So if you get a person who is, let's say, big, they get a lot of mucus and parasites and gunk and critters in there, and they're naturally going to project that. So, and the serpent symbolism represents the devil, so what are they actually projecting, and how high vibrational are they if they haven't got rid of this gunk? And that takes actually a few years of detoxification to achieve. So, how high is that person's spiritual development? And in their subconscious bodily template, have they awakened the higher realms? That's the tricky part, because there's only apparently about 0.5 or 6% of the population has done it, but you can see and feel it when that person has done these things, because they're just embodied. So, if you want to be light and love, how much light, how much love, how much light and love and orgasmic multidimensional bliss can we handle in our subconscious bodily template? And the element is fire of transformation. Fire and water. If the person hasn't got fire and water in their body, there is no possibility of transformation. So, interesting one, huh?